Welcome back into Cougar Tracks here on KSL NewsRadio and KSL Sports YouTube. I am your BYU insider, Mitch Harper. BYU basketball news and notes. Kind of been a newsy week for the Cougs. Yesterday, it was announced that BYU is going to take on Nebraska at 11 a.m. on Saturday, October 18th. It's going to be a loaded day of BYU sports that day. We got BYU versus Utah on the gridiron. Say less. But then you got the debut of DeBonsa, an exhibition game against a Big Ten team. Sign me up. Hopefully that BYU-Utah game is in the afternoon or probably going to be in the evening. We'll see. But hopefully we can watch BYU basketball take on Nebraska that day as well. And then on the recruiting trail for BYU hoops, BYU was hosting one of the top JUCO prospects in the class of 2026. That's KJ Perry out of Citrus College. KJ Perry visiting BYU this week. 6'2" combo guard from Citrus College. He's taken visits to USC, SMU before his visit to BYU. BYU smack dab in the middle. Then he's got upcoming visits to TCU on September 19th, Oregon on September 27th. But this would be a very explosive player on the backcourt for BYU. And also, it speaks volumes, I think. Kevin Young's got a high barometer for what he wants in a recruit. He's going for high ceilings, elite talents that can make an instant impact. And so he's not just dishing out offers to any JUCO prospect. Honestly, the JUCO path is kind of a forgotten path in college basketball these days. It's either high school or you're going portal. You're not typically dipping into the JUCO waters as much. But there's still some big-time talents like a guy like KJ Perry who averaged about 17 points a game last season for Citrus College. So he is a name to watch, but he was on campus at BYU yesterday. And he's still got some upcoming visits to TCU and Oregon. But in that list of programs, USC, SMU, it feels like all the teams that were part of that domino effect that led to Kevin Young ultimately coming to BYU. Andy Enfield, Musselman, you know the drill. TCU's in there, Oregon, but like BYU, you used to look at those sort of lists and you'd say, how can BYU get those guys? You look at BYU stacked up against USC, SMU, TCU, and Oregon, you go, why would you not go to BYU? Why would you not pick the Cougs and Kevin Young? I think that's to me kind of half the battle of BYU and how they've evolved as a program. And it started with Dave Rose, obviously. He was building it up. Then there was kind of a leveling off with the WCC. Mark Pope took it to a higher level with recruiting, and now Kevin Young's just taking it like a rocket ship. I mean, they are just off and running. They've already got a commitment from Dean Rickert in the class of 2026. KJ Perry would be a huge addition, and then they're still in pursuit of Austin Gooseby, 5-star prospect. So BYU's got a lot of options in that class of 2026, and it's noteworthy, too, because signing day for basketball is coming up. We're about, 2 months away until signing day takes place, the early signing period for the class of 2026. So it's not like, we'll see, even though he's going to play 2026, 2027 season next year, decisions have to be made pretty soon here. So KJ Perry from Citrus College, one to watch after he took his official visit to BYU. Some other personnel notes in BYU basketball. Chamberlain Burgess officially with Snow College. He returned home from his mission. I believe he was serving a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I believe it was in the state of Texas. But he is home from his mission, and now he is enrolled at Snow College. So, if maybe the development there could be a good place for him to develop on the court, take some time to figure things out off the court and be ready to roll. And maybe down the road, it can work out and he can circle back to BYU. Honestly, I think it could be a good thing for Chamberlain Burgess to develop because we're seeing more and more. You think, 4-star prospect, top 150 recruit. What's he doing ending up at Snow? Look, that's still kind of an outlier to go end up at Snow, but if you're not a top 50 recruit, it's almost better to go to a mid-major, maybe go to a JUCO, somewhere like that, become an absolute stud, and then you become a coveted entity by a power conference program that has robust collectives, that has strong rev share commitments, and then you can get a big payday. If you're a top 150 recruit on the back half of the rankings from like 75 on down, and you go to a power conference school from the jump, and you're just riding the bench and you're not making an impact for a year or two, well, then you hit the portal, and then you're going back to one of those mid-major, maybe, non-D1 programs, and you're not making anywhere near the money. And you didn't make that big of a cut initially because you weren't, the blue chip 5-star guy, which is typically the top 25 prospects. I think this honestly could be a trend. Look, Chamberlain's situation's his own personal path, his own personal development. I'm talking more kind of holistically about recruiting in high school, because with the transfer portal being such an important piece to building rosters, you then have to kind of look at players ranked 75 to 150 in those top recruiting rankings in a given cycle. Those guys might trickle down to more mid-major conferences and maybe tear it up for a year or two there, and then they level up, and then they become the instant impact guys at the power conference level. I think that's kind of the path, honestly. If I was a 4-star recruit and like I'm prospect number 112 on the rankings, that's probably what I would do, because then you go to a place where you are the highest rated recruit ever for that school. And then you step in and you're instantly given an opportunity because of the accolades that you got as a recruit. You step in and you're instantly given the opportunities to be the guy. And then you get the volume, you get the time on the floor, the minutes, because that's what helps improve your ability to go get more money and more deals and more opportunities is by playing. And if you're not playing, and yeah, you're at a power conference school, which has got great resources, great facilities, that's all fine and dandy, but it's going to come to an end probably. And then when you start to do a hard cap of 15 roster spots, do you make that cap? So that becomes an interesting thought too, but Chamberlain Burgess officially at Snow College. So we'll monitor how his career goes down in Ephraim for the Badgers. It's coached by, the Badgers are by Andrew May, who was a former BYU basketball support staffer under Dave Rose. He was, I believe, the director of basketball ops back in the day. So, and he's got a really good program too. One of the best in the junior college ranks. So I'll be keeping close tabs and see how Chamberlain Burgess develops in his basketball career, which will begin now at Snow College. Some other BYU basketball notes, just kind of personnel that are guys that are away from BYU. Brooks Barr, he's still in the second year of his mission. He's still a guy that you look at potentially for 2026, 2027. I just kind of always keep tabs of that, kind of see what the pipeline looks like. But anymore, if college basketball, it's year by year, these rosters and how they're built and how they all come together. And that's, this roster that Kevin Young has built for this season is pretty loaded for the Cougars, as they are projected by Bart Torvik, an advanced metric for the 2026 season, to be number 6 in college basketball. So high expectations for Cougar Hoops. There's no doubt about that. That's going to do it for this edition of Cougar Tracks. I hope all of you enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe to the show on KSL Sports YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts, Pocket Cast, Overcast, anywhere that there's podcast, subscribe, leave a rating and a review. It would help out the show a ton. And subscribe to the KSL Sports YouTube so you can see all of these videos of the Cougar Tracks podcast going forward. I will talk to you on Monday. We'll enjoy the weekend. We'll have Cougar Sports Saturday from noon to 3 on KSL News Radio, myself and Kyle Ireland. And then we will be back on Monday for Cougar Tracks to get you ready for game week between BYU and East Carolina next week. All right here on Cougar Tracks, and it's powered by KSLSports.com.